Hi again. Here we are to continue our discussion of HTML. And, we go in over a few things here, but, how would you actually do this? Let's do something a little more real, right? So in the last video, I talked about setting up the document, and we used a bunch of these tags here. We used the HTML, the head tag, the title tag, and the body tag. And in the previous video, we also made use of the paragraph, the strong, and the M tag. Okay, so the question comes up: how many tags are there? I mean, is there a tag for everything? And let's answer that. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Google here, and I'm going to Google up HTML. And what I want is I want the MDN. This is like a Mozilla Developer Network. Okay, and they have a pretty good tag list. There's a few on the web here, and one of them is this one, W3 Schools, and they're okay. Some of the information here is a little iffy. It's not as great, but the MDN one is pretty up to date. So I'm going to go here. So I just searched for HTML MDN, and what I want to do is I want to get the HTML element reference. So I called these tags. You can also call them elements. Okay, so sometimes you'll hear that as a word to mean tag. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll click on HTML element reference, and then what we'll see here is we'll see a list of all of the tags here, right? So you can see on this side, the left side of my window here, it says reference HTML elements, and there's the A tag, the ABBR tag, the acronym tag, the address tag, the applet tag, the area, the article, the side, audio, right? And they're all alphabetical, right? So it goes all the way down. I guess there isn't a Z tag, but there is an XMP, WBR, video. I don't even know what this one does, right? So those are all the tags, right? And you can go through the list if you like. I'll go through a couple here right now. Let me point something out. Some of these tags carry over from earlier versions of HTML, and what Mozilla is telling us with the little trash can here is that this tag is obsolete. So don't use the listing tag anymore. Don't use the marquee tag, okay? Don't use the dir tag or the command tag, okay? These other tags with the little thumbs down is a deprecated tag. In other words, it's probably going to be removed in the future. Okay, so just note those things. And I think these ones with the little flask here are experimental. Like these are tags that might be used in the future. Okay, or they're experimenting with them, but they haven't been finalized in the HTML language yet. So they might be included in the future. So you can experiment with them, but maybe don't put them in production work. Okay. So if you want to find out what a tag does, you can just click on it. So the A tag is the anchor tag, right? And this creates a link, right? So if you clicked on MDN, it would take us to this address. We'll talk more about this thing in a minute, right? Okay, that's a part of the tag called an attribute, okay? If we click on the ABBR tag, we can see that this is the abbreviation tag, or HTML abbreviation element, okay? And then you can see here, it says, I do HTML, right? And HTML is an acronym or an abbreviation for hypertext markup language, okay? And, we can take a look at a few more of these. Let me go back to get the full list, right? Here we are, right? Let's look at address tag. Oh, that's pretty interesting. What does that do? Oh, supplies contact information, right? Oh, you put your address in the address tag. And they give you some usage notes here. So they kind of say, hey, it represents an arbitrary address, okay? And it says, hey, you know what? You should probably use this inside a paragraph, right? Because you shouldn't just have the address floating around. We got to put it in a little more context, right? And then they give you some more information, right? And they give you an example here. Okay, so that's pretty good, right? And we can look up any of the tags that we want now, okay? And there's a tag for everything, okay? What else can we do, right? Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my GitHub account, and I've got this little block of text here, right? So imagine I've written a short article on front-end web design with HTML. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. Let me actually get the whole thing here, copy it, and paste it into my browser. I'm going to paste it into the body tag here. So now all of my text is inside the body tag. So the body tag begins here, and then it ends down here. Now, watch what happens when I load this into the browser, okay? So this is my HTML example, and when I refresh it, wait, actually I got the wrong one. Let me go get the right one here. Oh, wait, I got to save it. So let me save it. You see the little blue dot there, right? So let's try it again. I refresh it. Hey, wait, where's my document? Do I get the right document? No, that's the index. It was this one. Sorry. Let's try it one more time. There we go, right? Oh, there we go. So there's all the text that I have, and it doesn't look the same. What's going on here? Let's take a look. So let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. Well, I guess it's the same text. It says, you know, front-end web design. That's this line right here, but there's actually a tab in front of it, and then there's 2 line returns to where it says Mitchell Hudson, but that's on the same line here with only a single space, and then there's 2 line returns and then the date, but there's no line returns here, right? Okay. So what's going on? So the first thing that you got to understand about writing HTML is that the browser removes all of the white space. So the white space is this area here in between the lines of text. Okay? And essentially what the browser does is it condenses the white space into a single space. So, you know, no matter how many line returns I place here, right, I'll save that and then I'll refresh it and look at it here. You'll see that there's only a single space between between design and Mitchell Hudson, right? So I've got the word design here. There's a whole bunch of line returns and then my name, and then there's only a single space in the window here, okay? So the browser condenses the white space into a single space, okay? Line returns, tabs, spaces all become just one space, okay? So if we want to display this in anything that has, you know, any kind of structure, we need to use the tags, okay? So let's try that. So first of all, at the top of the page, this is probably a heading. And maybe since this is what my document is about, I'll use the H1 heading. There's actually H1 through 6. Okay, so you can make this H, you know, 2 or H3 or whatever, up to 6, right? It can be H1 to 6. Those are headings, and headings are kind of like titles on your page, right? So I'm titling my page here, and I'm going to say that this is the most important title. Use this to, you know, for SEO stuff usually, right? So, you know, the H1 is going to make the text look larger and also add a line return at the end. So this will be like one block, right? Like if I refresh it now, you can see front-end web design is one block, and then the rest of the text goes underneath it, right? So this creates a block, and it also says that this is the most important title on the page. So if you know, if a search engine indexed my page, it might give more emphasis to the words that are inside H1. So if these words are keywords maybe for that kind of describe my page, like web design is pretty important to what we're doing in front end, maybe makes sense for what this is talking about. So that's probably a pretty good title, and maybe this will help it index better, right? Okay, so maybe my name here is not as important for search engine stuff. I'll put it in a paragraph there. Oops, I accidentally hit the square bracket there. There we go, right? Okay, now look what happens, right? So I put this in a paragraph, and then I refresh it, and you can see this is one block, and this is another block, and then all of this has no context, or there's no tag around it, so it just all runs together, right? So now what are we going to do? Well, maybe we'll put the date here inside a paragraph like this, and then maybe I'll do another paragraph here, because this actually is supposed to be a paragraph, right? Paragraph of text. And then I'll refresh it in the browser. Let's see what it looks like now. oh, well, now that's starting to look good, right? I've got some structure. I've got, title, I've got my name, I've got the date, I've got a paragraph here. And, if you recall, when we were looking at the tag reference, there was the abbreviation tag, ABBR, right? So, you know what? HTML and CSS are both abbreviations, so why don't we do the abbreviation tag, right? Okay, so I'll close that off here like this, and maybe CSS is also an abbreviation, so I'll close that there. Okay, and there we go, right? So let's take a look at what that looks like, right? Now keep your eyes on these two words here, and nothing happens. But internally, this document knows that these are abbreviations. Okay, let me show you another trick, right? Some of the tags have special, and actually you can add attributes to all the tags. Some of the tags have special attributes that are specially set for those tags, and the abbreviation is one of those. What was the one? It was like title. Okay, so attributes, let me zoom in on this a little bit closer. Okay, so attributes are values that you can put into a tag. So you can see here's my beginning arrow, and there's the ending arrow for the opening tag, and they always go in the opening tag, they never go in the closing tag. So this is called an attribute. Okay, and the attribute is always in the form name equals value, and the value is always quoted, so you put it in quotation marks. There's different default attributes. They have different names here. This one's called title, but they can have any number of names, and you could add other names in here too, like I could put an ID attribute on this one that would look like that, or the class attribute like this. Okay, right? I'll get rid of those now for clarity. Okay, so here's the title attribute, and with the abbreviation tag, the title attribute lets you define what the abbreviation is. So this is actually, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, so I'm going to make that my title. I'll save this document, and then I'll go to the browser and I'll refresh it, and you can see nothing changed here. But when I hover over HTML, you can see there's a little like pop-up or a little kind of tag that shows up, and it says what the title is, right? See where it says Hypertext Markup Language right here, right? Let's try that with CSS, right? So if I go over here to the CSS abbreviation, I can add the title, and I can say Cascading Style Sheets. Okay, that's what CSS stands for. I'll save my document, go to the browser, refresh, and when I hover over CSS now, you can see it says Cascading Style Sheets. Now, you'll notice that these abbreviations don't get the tag, right? Because I have to add the abbreviation tag if I want that little pop-up to show up, and I want the document to understand that this is an abbreviation with a particular title or meaning to it, okay? So you have to mark up everything, okay? But anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea of how the tags are used, and you can continue marking up this document, or, make up your own document and mark it up yourself. Okay, and I'll go over more of the tags later, but that's pretty much the whole of HTML there, okay? I mean, there's a lot more tags and a lot of different ways you can use the tags, but essentially the core idea here is when you have a document, you are going to choose the tag that best describes the text content within the tag. So if you have something on a page and you can find a tag that describes it best, like, this is a paragraph and this is an abbreviation, right? You're going to pick the tag that describes that element, okay? And then there can be a lot more added here for structure too. So for example, if I want to create a header, right? And a header is different than the head tag, okay? So if I said like, this is the header for my page, and the header happens to contain the title, my name, and the date, then I could close off the header tag here like this. And then what I'm doing is I'm adding structure to my page by saying that, you know, that this area here is the header for the page, right? Okay, and maybe you know, all of this is part of an article, and we have a tag called article, right? So maybe I've written an article here, and my article has a header, and the header always goes inside the article, right? Because it's part of the article. And then, you know, I always have to close my tags, but maybe all of this is part of the article, so I'll close the article tag at the bottom of the page here. And then what you're going to see is I've created an article, right? Let me tab that over once, right? So here's my article. It's got a header. The header contains the title, the author, and the date, okay? And then my actual article begins here, and this is the first paragraph, and it has, you know, an abbreviation and some other information, right? Okay? Maybe I want to say love strongly, so I'll say strong, right, and strong. You know, and you can continue, you know, as much as you want and add as much detail as you like, okay? But that's what it is. The tags should describe the content, okay, and give it structure and meaning, okay? Now, you know, if you look at this in the browser here and you're saying like, hey, you know what, I really don't like the way that this header looks. It's too big. Well, you know what? That HTML has nothing to do with that. I know that it's making the tag look the way that it does here, but what we're going to do is we're going to use CSS in the future to make all of these elements look the way that we want them to look. So we don't want to use the HTML to make the page look a certain way. Okay? We always want to use CSS to set the style for the page and HTML to describe the page in the best way that we can describe it. Okay? So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope that that is useful for you.